I quit my 9 to 5 job, which was incredibly easy. In fact, I had a real cushy number in my last role, but I still quit. I was also considered an employer's nightmare, someone who could not be managed. But why? Why did I leave? Why have I not stuck around like the millions around the world? In fact, billions. I think it's about 2.6 billion working people. Why did I choose entrepreneurship and business? Because it was the only alternative. In today's video, I'm going to share things that I have never spoken about before. I'm even going to talk through my actual experiences. And I believe, we've got 11 reasons why I left the 9 to 5. I've got loads of notes on my notepad here, so I don't miss a thing. This is probably going to be a little bit more humorous because I'm going to share actual things that happened in my last job. You know, if you've watched any of my videos, you're probably not surprised that I am someone who cannot be managed. You know, I have the personality of someone who is just naturally disciplined. I'm very outspoken. I'm confident. What I hope you get from this video is that if you resonate or you can actually relate to what I'm saying, maybe you are destined at some point for more of a financially independent road, you know, entrepreneurship, business. I'm doing another video very soon about how simple it is to replace your income, and I'm going to share a few business models and dive into how you can actually get it up and running, the earnings, and how you can replace an average salary. I've done a few of those videos, but I'm going to deep dive it. So you can really see that you don't need to be stuck in a job for 40 hours a week, 180 hours a month, the unfair exchange of time. Anyway, that's for another one. I'm confident, I'm self-driven, I'm very conscious. And what I mean by conscious is that some people are asleep. You know, when I refer to in these videos, wake up. I literally mean wake up. I went to London recently, side story, and I went to the tallest building in London. It's called Horizon 22. I took a video, I might be able to show you actually. I took a video of all the people down on the street. It's scary. Let me just fast forward to this one, right? So look at, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, there we go. Right, watch this. Okay, all of these people are asleep. I've spoken about London Bridge before. Watch this. So there we go, that's leading up to London Bridge. I then zoom in. This is sort of around about 4 p.m, so it's getting busier. Look, they're literally in the rat race. People are asleep. So I was very conscious. I didn't like going into a workplace and being with people that I was forced to be with because I wouldn't actually meet these people out of work. So I had to do everything. And I went through my own experiences, which is where a lot of my content stems from, is actual experiences that I've been through. So look, I was an employer's nightmare. We all know that. I'm going to kick off with 11 things to why I left my job, and we're just going to park business and entrepreneurship aside. We're just going to talk about all the problems that I could not stand to be a part of and around and actually witness, and have no control over changing those things in the 9 to 5. For people who have no interest in getting out the 9 to 5 and just want to hate on this video, turn it off, do yourself a favor, don't waste time, go throw your misery elsewhere, because there's always someone who complains about my videos. There's always one. Madness. Who has time to sit and scroll and leave misery everywhere? Number one has to be Coworkers. I'm going to use their first name, but not their last name. I have been through my own experiences where once upon a time I was naive, I was young, and I felt that you could trust people in the workplace. I have been burnt many times. I have gone through grievances, investigations, HR meetings. I have had people that I've worked with very closely in my younger days that I thought I could trust, and you know, you tell them about your personal life, you open up a little bit more, you actually tell them how you're feeling about work, and then you realise, oh, all that information is leveraged against me. I shared something to an individual who was called Christian. And lo and behold, this information that I passed on got to a certain individual, and I had actually put some information in an email, which I shouldn't have done, which was then used against me, and I got invited to a HR investigation meeting, which could have been gross misconduct towards a certain individual, and I went through several meetings. Christian was a part of one of these meetings. HR was appalling. They actually done things that they shouldn't have done, so I was able to use that against them, and I actually won a grievance. But Christian turned on me. I never forgot that. Came out of the blue, I wasn't expecting it. I actually thought we were friends. Totally turned on me, tried to use it to leverage his position with this manager who was actually the biggest manager on my site at that time, who I had the grievance with. And Christian was trying to get closer to that person, and in order to do that and better his position to get the next big promotion, if he could show his loyalty to the top person, then obviously it put him in a better position. I won that grievance, and that long process lasted about 6-7 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. And that was the eye-opener. And I was like, I can't go through this again. Like, I don't want the stress, I don't want the drama. I'm not paid enough to go through this drama, but at the same time, I had a brand new baby. I was the only income of me and my family and my partner. I needed to make money. I had to stick with it. And at the time, I wasn't looking for another job because the actual job itself was incredibly easy. So that was the first time that I'd sort of really seen that co-workers were not there. They were there for their families and to better their position. I didn't want to have that loss of control where all of a sudden I could be fired under gross misconduct or losing an investigation, which was wrongly done and poorly held by HR. So that was kind of like, I need to start thinking for myself. Yes, I'm very entrepreneurial as a personality type. That's who I am. I think for myself, I think outside the box, but you know, I was kind of thinking, yeah, I need to start making my own money because that's highly risky to be in a position where literally I could have lost my job. There's always other jobs out there. I would have gone and got another one. Now there's a second person. This person called Anna. This was a graduate manager. This was someone who was nothing but a pain in my backside. Had a good relationship to begin with this graduate manager, no major issues. And then when I had to take some time off, I think it was like 2 days, my son was not very well. I didn't want to talk about why my son wasn't very well. And she was starting to question, well, what was wrong with him? And then it got reported to, it basically went up the ranks to, you know, Aaron's had some time off for his son, but he doesn't want to reveal why. Now this was said by a graduate manager. She was very new, she had no experience, and she didn't need to know the details. You know, if you need to have a day off and you're sick and ill, you don't need to reveal why and what problem you have. There doesn't need to be any paperwork or any trail of the actual issue that you have. She was pressing me for what was wrong with my son, and I was just like, I cannot be dealing with this immaturity, this naivety, this lack of compassion and empathy for someone who has a child and they're not very well and they need to take some time off to be there for their family. So that was kind of like, yeah, look, people are out to get you. The fact that she didn't even talk to me about, you know, just on a personal, respectable level saying, absolutely fine, I totally get it, you know, your child's not well. She literally took that information, and because I wouldn't reveal the exact problem with my son, she went higher up trying to cause me more problems. And I was like, okay, develop more thick skin. This is just obviously a part of this corporate political poker game that we're all playing. And then another one was a guy called Lee. I was very close with Lee. We worked very, very close. And within the last year of me leaving my job, I noticed a shift. Now, we used to muck about, we used to have such a laugh, right? That's how we got through our 10-hour shifts. We used to have a real good laugh. And I felt this change. I'd come onto shift, and you might feel this as well with certain co-workers. He just totally changed. Atmosphere was different, wasn't laughing at the jokes. And then I noticed he'd become a lot friendly with certain managers, and I thought, okay, maybe he has been given a bit of a rub on the back. Now, I was very outspoken. Again, you couldn't really control me. People would ask me to do stuff. If I didn't feel it was my duty or within my contract, I would say, look, this doesn't fall under me. You know, I'm not taking on the workload. I was that employer's nightmare that if it wasn't in my contract, I was not going above and beyond, right? I'd learned from being burnt. I knew that I was a number. So again, I used the word conscious. I would not do more than what I was paid for. I did act my wage, and I was the last one in, first one out. I stayed within the boundaries, and they found it very annoying that they couldn't control me. Now, I believe, and this is just assumption, you know, but I would say a pretty accurate one. He was given a rub on the back by the second person that I couldn't trust, a guy called Dan, who I was actually friendly with for years, friendly. And then he turned on me when we had a new manager come in, and Lee just started to distance himself. He wouldn't have a laugh, he wouldn't have a joke, but he was always in the office now and he was getting extra perks. But then all eyes were on me, and it was like, hang on a minute. We used to have banter and now things have changed. So I was just like, this is just mad. Like, people are so easily manipulated within the corporate world. And again, this all stems, co-workers are not trustworthy for one reason. They need their job. They fear for their job. And this is why I talk about financial empowerment and getting your money together and having an emergency fund and also generating your own cash. Because when you become financially independent, as I was at this point, so just to let you know, why was I an employer's nightmare? Well, I'm not talking in this video about sort of my entrepreneurial journey and my businesses and stuff like that. But you know, I've always been saving from a young age, from my first ever job. I've been saving, investing. I'm not materialistic, as I've said many times. I just used to cash stack hard. And then when I started making extra money on the side, I was just cash stacking that. And my job was simply to pay bills. So I was getting financially comfortable certainly after that grievance incident, I really took my finances very seriously and doubled down on what I could and made cutbacks. So the cutbacks went into an FU fund, I call it. So I was building that buffer that I didn't have to put up with rubbish in the 9 to 5. But everyone else around me was brown nosing. You know, they were willing to backstab. They were willing to turn on you because they were desperate for their job. You know, they were in fear of, oh my God, I can't pay my mortgage. You know, I really like the guy or I really like the girl, but I've got to tread over him. I've got to throw him under the bus because I need to get in the pocket of this manager. I mean, you've probably been to all this, right? It's incredibly dangerous. So, co-workers you cannot trust. Finally, this guy called Dan turned on me in a heartbeat in a meeting where literally attacked me, started saying that you need to do this, you haven't done this, blah, blah, blah. And it all came from this one manager that turned on me, which was, I cannot remember her name. She was a little nightmare. She was my last manager that I had, and I told her what I thought of her on the last day of my work when I actually closed my laptop and I left. She'd been off site for like 3-4 hours. You know, I could run the entire shift, right? I had the respect amongst everyone, you know, everything was ticking over. We all knew our job roles, right? And I could always run a shift. I had a supervisor role. And this manager went off for like 3-4 hours off site. I didn't care. I have no interest in other people's business. I don't care if the managers disappear for the whole day and just let me get on with it. Leave me alone, right? Maybe I'll do some other stories about what I was like in the workplace. But, you know, when managers would come onto my shift, they would be told, leave Aaron alone, let him get on with it. He knows what he's doing. Don't tell him to suck eggs and you'll be fine. Anyway, this manager obviously didn't get the memo. Another graduate, she disappeared all day. And I used to do a late shift. And then she came back and I got a message on our like laptop messenger saying, Aaron, I need you to do all the reports. Can you do this, blah, 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 and make sure all of this is signed off. This was 20 minutes before I was finishing my shift. So I replied, no, I won't be doing that. 20 minutes till I leave. But my question to you is, where have you been for the last 3-4 hours? I thought, I'm not having that, right? We are two human beings, right? Levels of respect here. Remember that. Let me try and empower all of you. Doesn't matter whether you're the cleaner, the assistant, the shelf stacker, anything else, the forklift driver, the lorry driver, the regional manager, the area manager, that's the same thing, whatever. You are human beings, you bleed the same, you go to the toilet the same. The respect level never diminishes if you're a human. Just remember that. Just because someone is on a higher pay packet and has a fancy title and a little badge and a brand new high-vis that isn't dirty doesn't mean they get to talk down to you, or when they walk around they shouldn't show the respect and say good morning and good afternoon. It was absolute rife in my last job, and that's one of my points that I'm going to be talking about here. I sent her this message. She screen capped it and then sent it off to HR and her manager saying Aaron is not doing as he's told, he's not conforming, and basically I was the issue. I also used to leave bang on time, as I have spoken about many times. And this also from that manager, I wish I could remember her name, she would report that I would also be leaving bang on time. Now you could get to the clock out machine 4 minutes before you can clock out. I'd be there 4 minutes. And there was a bit of a commute of walking to that machine, so I'd be packed up and ready to go. And I had a complaint. And the day that I actually quit my job, I had a rubbish email from HR saying, we want to invite you to an investigation. And at that point, I'd already replaced my income, had good money in the bank. I was like, I'm out. I shut my laptop, told a few people what I thought of them, and I hoppity hooped out of there, right? So co-workers. Number one, you cannot trust your co-workers. It did my box. I've got loads of other examples, but we'd be here all day. Number two, knowing that I have no control. I did not like the fact that my breaks were controlled. If you're too long in the toilet, you will get a phone call, a radio message, you'll get a laptop, messenger chat, pop-up notification thingy. If you're late to work, you've got to ring someone up and say there's been an accident on the road, and then it's like, then they want to chat with you and check in with you. Or if you've had a day off sick, you've got to come back and do that health thing or whatever. Not that I ever had to do that, but people do. If you have 3 days off, you've got to check in with the on-site health person. There's no control. Requesting holiday. I remember requesting holiday, and this one time it was a battle. Oh, it's just a nightmare. This older lady had time off and this other guy had time off. I didn't have a problem with the guy having time off, but this old lady who lived on her own with a cat, right? She was in this other department. I was like, I have a family. We booked the same holiday. You could manage without all of us, but you're being the manager was being a pain, but why can't she shift swap? And it's like this is the whole thing. There's a lack of control. And if the manager's not keen on you, and some of the managers, I got on with most people, by the way, just for the record, but some managers who were very power hungry, who couldn't control me, one thing they could do was be a pain in the backside when it came to my holidays. So that was a total nightmare. I did not like the fact there's no control. I do not like that. I do not like asking people to have a day off. And I was also conscious about, I work all this time to only get a measly between 25 and 28 days, depending on how much we'd accrued you'd get an extra day each year. That irritated me. And then to have to battle for that, there was actually something else. This isn't in my list, but I suppose it comes under no control. My son had this thing with his kidney. I can't remember what it was. My son's upstairs, actually. Do you remember that thing that you had wrong with your kidney or liver or whatever it was? No? He's ignoring me. He knows when I'm filming, he'll just play his game. But anyway, so he had something wrong with his stomach. I had to rush, my partner rang me, rush to the hospital. I didn't even ask permission, by the way. I literally packed up my bag. My mate Steve, Big Bear, shout out to Big Bear, who you've heard me mention. I was literally like, I've got to go. I left my planner there. I left some stuff there, which he picked up for me. And I just went. I didn't even ask for permission. I didn't tell anyone that I was going. I'm not asking or looking for some replacement at my workplace or asking a manager or letting them know. I don't care. I don't know how critical this is or how serious this is. He was taken in by ambulance. I am going straight to my loved one, the most important person in the world to me. My entire universe is centered around this one little chap who's in the hospital. I think he was like 1.5 or 2 at the time. I'm not speaking to anyone. I am red and blue lighting it, 90 mile an hour the whole way. And I got there and I had a phone call. Literally just as I got to the hospital. Aaron, where are you? I'm at the hospital, gotta go. Voicemail. Aaron, you can't just leave site like that. I know, I'm really sorry, I hope he's okay, but you need to let someone know. You should have come to the office and just let us know so maybe we can come in. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. I'm not having discussions when I don't know what is happening to the most important person. So you get my point, right? I know many of you have been through this. I've had so many conversations about that. Yeah, it was a little side one. Now, number 3. If you speak up, you are the problem. My God, I used to speak up all the time. I learned to not speak sometimes in some meetings because I just realised there's no point, it just falls on deaf ears and you can't argue or debate with stupidity, and there was a lot of stupidity in my last place. But when I would speak up and I'd say, because I was that guy where Chris, who was one of the big managers at the time, who actually is kind of like a mate of mine, but he was giving all these, we were in a huddle. I don't know if you've ever done a huddle, but anyway, we were in this huddle and he was like, right, we're gonna be doing this, blah, blah, blah. Changes, right, you guys on your shift, you're gonna be doing this. And I literally was like, no, we're not doing that. And I spoke on behalf of my team. I said, we're not doing that because that's a shortfall of theirs, and theirs, and we won't be doing that. And he was like, he looked at me and I could tell he was thinking, you're making me look stupid in front of everyone. But I had a valid point. What I'm not condoning is just disagreeing. But if you have a good argument and you have a counter with X, Y, and Z to why it doesn't make logical sense that you're now doing it when someone else should be doing it, I will not pick up slack for other people when they should be doing it. And again, because of my buffer that I was building and replacing my income, I had the confidence to have my head up, chest proud, and say, no, that's not okay. But what happens when you speak up? You become the problem, and they try and find ways and means of getting you out. And certainly in the last couple of years, they were trying different methods to get me out. But I would always say stay squeaky clean to the point where they couldn't do anything. Honestly, I look back now, I was a nightmare. Not in a bad way, but I knew myself and I knew how to play the game. But don't play the game if it takes a toll on your energy. I was very emotionless. I was detached when it came to the 9 to 5 because I realized when you start building a business, and I know I'm sort of going from one thing to the other, when you start building a business and you have bigger and higher purpose than the 9 to 5, you won't care about the 9 to 5. Wait till you build your business, you'll know exactly what I mean. Or if you're building a business and you know what I mean at this point, let me know that you get that feeling of you're conscious, you wake up and you do not care about the 9 to 5 and you are not scared of losing your job because you are now in a purpose-driven lifestyle where you are going to be building something for yourself. Number 4, fake laughing and alter egos. In meetings, brown noses, where someone's got their head so far up the rear end, the legs are dangling out at the manager. I used to be in many meetings where I would see, and I've done short form content about this, where I would see big men, right? I used to work with some big guys, who would consider they look a bit rough, big guys, who would cower down and they would laugh. And we were in something what would be called the war room. Probably holds about 25 people and you'd all be sitting around this big oval table when they're talking about company metrics and, forecasting this, and everyone's going, oh yeah, and everyone's nodding along, and I'd be thinking, I don't care about company metrics. Just make sure I'm paid on time. I don't care about what the forecast is for next year. It was a massive company, right? So I knew they weren't going anywhere. And these people are laughing. Men, women, the manager who's not funny at all. I can't remember his name. There was one guy, I wish I knew his name. Big Bear would remember his name. Anyway, he was a scrawny little manager, but he was the biggest manager at the time on our site and in this certain region. And he was talking about stuff and I was looking around and people are laughing. And again, this comes from a place of alter ego, but all these people that are laughing, which is not funny. Imagine if their wives or husbands could see them. Imagine if they're chill. I always think that. If my son could see me here going, Oh, you're so funny. It's not funny, but I want to keep my job, and please let me have the next promotion. If I laugh harder than he's laughing harder. I'd be embarrassed. I'm a fully grown adult. I'm not going to laugh at something that isn't funny. So as I would sit there, I'd be like this. Steve, my mate, was the same, Big Bear. Not Steve, the one who I've spoken about before, who's the hard worker, who would run around like a headless chicken. He'd be laughing, but no, my other mate, me and him would be sitting there going, it's not funny. Like, this is why people have mental health problems, because they're pretending to be someone for 5 days a week, 4 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day, for whatever, 36 weeks of the year, or however many, weeks people work over the year. Every day. People are pretending to be someone. You will develop an alter ego. You will then not know who you are, which then leads to this whole midlife crisis that everyone's suffering with, and all the mental health issues. Because you're not really reliant on a job. You're pretending to be someone. You're laughing at stuff that's not even funny. You don't know who you are anymore. You're totally broken. Now you're popping anxiety and depression pills. No wonder society's breaking down. So the whole laughing, alter ego, I couldn't stand it. I honestly, I cannot stand it. I think it's cringe. There's no self-respect there. People have no values or standards, and I think it's embarrassing, and never was I a part of that. Number 5, sucking up to managers when coming on site. So we used to have big managers coming on site, and then there'd be all these emails sent around, a manager who's on like 90, 100, maybe 120,000 a year. Everyone, we need to clean up. Everyone get the warehouse sorted. The office is sorted. Get this sorted. Everyone run around. We need to do this. We've got a big manager coming on site. Regional from London. We've got the biggest manager coming on site. Everyone. Why are you all hang on, slow down. So you mean a human being is coming here? Not the Queen, right? Let me tick this off. Not the Queen. No, it's not the Queen. The King's not coming. No, the King. It's the big regional manager from London. Okay. So a man is coming to our site, and now we're all meant to run around. And when he turns up, we roll out a red carpet and we fan him with palm leaves, and we feed him, and and then there would be meetings. And then I sat at my desk one day. I got this chime or whatever it was, this messenger come up. Aaron, where are you? We're all in this meeting waiting for you. This manager. I said, why do I need to? Why do I need to come? And there was a couple of others that used to do this with me as well. Well, you need to be here. He's going to be releasing information and blah 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 blah. You need to be here. He only comes onto site once every so often. No, I'm not being a part of this pandering to someone and robbing their back and bigging up their ego. I couldn't stand it. When I go on podcasts, and anyone that knows me personally would second this. Anytime I go on podcasts or I do a speaking gig, and I just did a speaking gig 2 days ago in London, they always say, what do you want me to introduce you as? Aaron. I'm Aaron Knightley. It doesn't matter about what I earn, what I do. I am a human being. I'm the same. I am no different. People put YouTubers on a pedestal. No, we're just humans. If you're watching me and you're learning and you're resonating, I'm the same as you. I'm just filming. You're the one watching it. Hopefully you're getting something from it, but it's no different. I'm just in front of the camera. You could do it too. There's nothing different from me to anyone else. And it's the same with these people who've got the titles. So the whole brown nosing and sucking up, and did you want me to do that? Oh, I'll do it for you. And leave it with me. I'll stay late. I'll come in early. I'll do the overtime. I'll do the step up role. Honestly, I couldn't stand it. Number 6. Title obsession. I hope I got this in the right order. If not, my editor can do some fancy editing. Title obsession. Oh my God. Could not stand this. The chase for promotions to get a title. General manager, operational manager, team lead. All these fancy words. Executive this, director this. And as a society now, we're all driven and chasing the title. And that's so unhealthy, because you lose yourself. You don't know what you want, who you are. You lose your values and standards, because you're creating this avatar with a title, and then the power that comes with it and the ego that comes with it and everything about it becomes this new form of identity. And then you become not very liked or likable as a person, but you like what that title allows you to do and control and manipulate and leverage in your favor. And that then you start to lose respect for human beings if they're not on your title. It's also another reason why people love to go to a barbecue and say, oh, what is it that you do? That's always the opening line. What do you do? And it's well, I'm glad you asked, because I've been waiting for someone to ask me this as I eat on my smash burger with some caramelized onions. And I am, brace yourself, a non-exec, director, supervisor. It goes to their heads. Whereas if we take away titles, respect has to be earned. It has to be leveled out, because now you're just humans. You might have different roles, which is why if I had my way, I'd ban titles and I'd replace it with numbers. Imagine going to a barbecue. What do you do? Oh, I work in tech. Doing what? I'm a level 6. What's that? I deal with the API and tech stack building. All right, fair enough. What are you? I'm a level 2. Oh, fair enough. Like, it just takes away the whole, ego of it. I can't stand title obsession and stuff like that. Number 7, the chase for promotion. So this was something they used to do. This is why they were trying to get rid of me for so long. I stayed in the same position for 7 years. So in my last job, which I was at for 7 years, I stayed at the same position. My pay went up slightly, but I stayed in the same position, really from the wake up of, being backstabbed by these co-workers. I realized that I needed to put my energy and time into me and building something legit and sustainable. So I never wanted to move up because consciously I was aware that as you climb up this very acute angle, the more responsibility, the shorter the puppet strings, the more pressure, the more stress, the more you're on call, having to answer the phone, take emails, all this kind of stuff. I didn't want any of that. So I knew if I could tick along, but I was in a company where they had liked to advance people. They hated it. I'd have people from other sites saying to me, Aaron, can I have a quick word? Yeah, go on then. How long have you been in this role? Don't know, X amount, whatever. We've got a few promotions coming up. Are you going to go for them? No. Oh. So what's your career plan here? To stay exactly as I am. Because what I could have said to them, because I'm building a business and I want to get away from all of you, because I can't freaking stand all of you, because you're all fake and it's wasting my life and I should be with loved ones. We shouldn't be normalizing, well, we spend more time with our co-workers than we do our friends. Yeah, that's not normal. That's not okay to say that. That's, and there will be some, it's mad how there will be some people in this video that disagree with me, but will watch right to the end so that they can have a bit of a say. But it's true. It's not normal, right? So no, I had no intention of going for a promotion. So they used to be on my back all the time. All the time. When are you going for a promotion? Or step-up roles would come up. Aaron, I think you should go for this. I don't. Why would I want to take on extra work for no extra pay? I'm not mad. I haven't lost my marbles. So you're probably getting a very good picture of what I was like. And honestly, some of the ones that I really got on with, they were like, Aaron, how have you hung on for so long? Again, I just knew how to play the game. So promotions, never for me. I do not want to be controlled even more. Coming in early and staying late. Well, I'm the guy who says last one in, first one out. And that is what I live by. My gosh, when I would finish my shift, and I talk about two people, Anna and George. George, if you're watching this or you do ever watch this, I do like you, just remember that. But you staying late, you know what I thought of it. George used to come in early and stay late. So his shift would finish, and honestly, as I would go into the canteen, maybe a couple of hours later after his shift should have finished, he'd be in the office, head down. I'd knock on the window. I'd go, mate, go home. I just got to finish this. I've just got to, that line freaks me out. I just have to get this done. No, you don't. You have an allotted time. Whatever gets done in there is done. And then you go home to your loved ones. No, I just got to finish this. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard anyone, I've just got to finish this? Anna was the same. Anna would finish her shift at 4:30. She would be there unpaid till 8:30. And she had a partner. She would be there an extra 4 hours every day, racking up over 20 hours over her working week, not being paid. Last one in, first one out. Number 9, offline work emails and expectations. I'm going to tell you something that happened to me. So I did a shift which was Sunday to Wednesday, and I came in on the Sunday, and a guy called Sean, who was my operational manager at the time, said to me, Aaron, have you checked your emails? Like, what are you doing here? And I said, no, I haven't, because I've been off. And he said, well, you're not meant to be here today. And I said, okay, where am I meant to be? And he said, well, we've sent you down to Southampton to do a first aider and a forklift course. Okay, when did you send the email? Thursday. I'm off on Thursday, Sean. He was like, right, but that's when I sent the email. Yeah, Sean, I'm not like all of you who go home, even though you've got families and loved ones, and sit there and open up emails and read emails. I don't do that. I am present with my family, and I'm glad I'm not at work. I know other people have had that because, so many people have shared that. That's the level of expectations that some companies want you to do or think that is normal. It's not. Boundaries are so important in the workplace from day one. So if anyone's new to the workplace, please listen to my experience. Set boundaries and don't get sucked into the nicey, we're all a family, we all go above and beyond for each other. And if you're ever in an interview where they say, are you all right going above and beyond, or are you all right just to do some extra and help cover, we're just starting a new, no, I'm out. No, thank you. Number 10, micromanaging and graduate managers, and then the whole one-to-one performance reviews. I've had about 8 graduate managers in my employed career. Couldn't stand them. They say stuff they shouldn't do. I'll give you an example of a guy called James. I won't mention his last name. And some of these might watch this video, but James was a pain. Some of the people that I used to work with do watch my YouTube videos, so you can probably share this with James, but I'll just say it as it is. He came from a silver spoon background, came in as a graduate, and one of the first things he said to me was, "Oh, don't worry about showing me that, Aaron. I won't need to do that. That's for you lot." Oh, it's your first day, mate, and you've just said you're not going to need to do that. No, you need to get your hands dirty, buddy, and get in. Lead from the front. You'll be doing all of this. And I had a chat with my mate who was running my site at the time, and I said, I think you need to pull him aside and put him into check, because he doesn't seem to think he's going to be doing anything. Now, if you're putting him on my shift, pucker up, because things are going to be happening. So anyway, James was from a silver spoon background, came from uni, straight as a graduate, said things he shouldn't said, and he liked to say to not only me, but everyone else, should we go for a walk? No. Why are we going for a walk? To have a chat, little one-to-one. No, you wanted to do that last week. Anyway, there was this one time I went off for a one-to-one. We went over to another canteen. We sat down and he said to me, "What's your plans for future growth within the company?" And I said, again, nothing. I'm happy where I am. And then he said to me, "It is imperative that you move up, promotions." And I said to him, "What did you say to me?" And he sort of paused, started to go red. And I said, "What did you say to me?" And he said, that it's imperative that... I said, that word, imperative, do you know the definition of imperative? So if I don't do it, there's going to be a consequence if I do not move up. It is imperative, so it's mandatory. So you're giving me an ultimatum that I need to move up. And then he was like, no, I did not mean that. Right, okay. Naive, immature, uneducated, lack of experience, and you're saying things to team members who are experienced, and you're rubbing people up the wrong way. Anyway, he checked in with himself. I didn't have one of those little chats for some while, but prime example, micromanaging. Just like people when they would come, have you done that? No, I'm about to do it. Lay off. People who, managers who tell you to suck eggs, and it's like, mad. Number 11, the last one. This is the big one for me. Unfair exchange of time. Was I happy to be paid what I was being paid at the time, which when I moved into this role, it was starting at 25, kind of went up to 26, 27. I got to about 28 and a half, closer to 30 by the time I left. Working 40 hours a week in that environment for potentially the next 45 years of my life, giving all control away and having to ask when I can have my lunch, ask for holidays. There's some people in my comments, when I've done these videos on short form on like my TikTok and Instagram and YouTube shorts, where I talk about you have to ask for permission. Some people go, "I don't ask for permission, I'll just tell them and I'll take it off. And if they don't like it, then go stuff it and I'll still take the time off." You don't though, do you? Because you're gonna lose your job. Like, it sounds big and tough and, very manly, but if we're cutting to reality here and actually talking about the truth of it, you have to ask and it has to be approved. You are not taking any holiday. Now, when I say you, I'm openly speaking about these people that have turned around to me and said, "I don't care what my manager says. If they decline it, I'm still having the time." You're not. You have to ask for permission. You're not having the time off. Which goes back to my point. You have no control. Now, ultimately, the risk is in employment. I don't care what anyone says to me, and I'm at the point now where people will disagree with me. They'll go, "Oh, it's because you're selling a program." Yeah, I sell a breakout program, which has been highly successful, but I sell programs now in e-learning well after I became very financially comfortable and sustainable. I left my job at 27. I'd already built a business. I then went on to build several other businesses. The finance, the events company, the education, we've got the tech company, the ventures, the memberships, the socials, the marketing, the consulting, all of these different revenue streams. And then I went and obviously launched my program. So you'll get those people that will go, "Well, you're only talking about this because you've got the narrative of helping people get out the 9 to 5 and selling your programs." Yeah, that's a big reason why as well. Yeah. Because I want more people to wake up. But I'm aware out of, say, 10,000 people that watch me, I'm going to help and people will action that. Maybe the numbers will be maybe between 50 to 100 people out of 10,000 views. Maybe slightly less. Those are the people that I'm really trying to push and help wake up and to become conscious. And that's the truth of it. So look, those are the reasons I left my job. I've shared things here today I've never spoken about before. I haven't even gone into this much detail on any of my other content. And look, what I would finish in saying, I've got a final point actually I didn't want to miss. Look at your bosses and ask yourself, do you want to be like them? Look at their lives. There was this guy, again, no last names, but he was called Pete. He was, at the time, about 2 years before I left, he was considered the area manager of 3 sites. And we were fine, me and him. We used to talk, stuff like this. And I was walking past, I can't remember, it's called C Cluster, this big warehouse that I was in. And as I was walking around, he came out the war room and he looked so stressed. So he barely had any hair at this point, clearly dyed it because most of it was grey at this point, whereas normally I'd seen him with the hair that he had was darker. So he was clearly dyeing his hair, but very grey. I didn't know how much hair he had when he started this job, but he didn't have a lot when I saw him. And we just got talking and I said, how are things and stuff like this? Because also he had a bit of involvement in property and I did at the time and stuff like this. So we had that kind of connection of talking about that. And he said, not good. He just blurted it all out. He's like, I'm stressed. I'm on anxiety tablets at the moment. Home life's not good, so that's stressing me out. I'm required to do all this stuff at work. They're putting pressure on me from above. And he kind of just spieled his guts, and we weren't like that, and I just ended up being a bit of a soundboard to him, which I was fine with, and I just kind of let him get it off, got it off his chest. And I said, well, look, I'm so sorry to hear that. I said, you need to make time for you and your family, and actually maybe this is perspective. And he kind of went on his way, and it was only about, 6-7 weeks later, I heard he left the company. Never spoke to him again. He connected with me on LinkedIn and we shared a hi, how's things going. After that, I've never had any communication with him. That's the reality. That is the reality. And anyone who denies anything I've said here today is not prepared to accept the reality because they either think it's too late, they're living in regret, envious, jealous, they don't know how, they're uneducated. Negative comments only actually ever come from miserable people who, when you talk about things, you end up being a mirror to their life. You talk about things that are very real in their life, why I call it like vinegar on a wound. So yeah, look, those are 11 reasons, and I think we added in an extra one, didn't we, to why I left my job. But of course, I've ended up loving entrepreneurship and business and social media and personal branding. I love it. I love public speaking, writing books. Oh, before I go, in the link of this description in this video, I have released, this is just the prototype one, my Life by Design planners. This is the wire-bind one. This was the prototype, but there's 82 pages. There's a slightly different design, but you've got, so I don't know if it's going to focus there, but if we go, you've got the date, high value tasks, low value tasks, social media tasks, notes, and then you've got a section there for have you done your self-education, networking, and have you done your workout? And then on the side, there will be a slot on the newly updated ones, because this was the lady who designed it for me didn't put it in the prototype, which is this. Then there's the time slots to keep you on track. So we've got it in wire bind, which is awesome. Started selling these today. It hasn't gone live to the public, but just to the ones who are on the pre-order list. And we've also got hardcover, so you can head there. And the art of this is simplifying productivity, not having a big list, of 20, 30, 40 things, and then you don't do anything and you do it all in the wrong order. This is simply designed with simplicity in mind to make sure that you only have 4 things to do on each thing: high value, low value, social media, any notes, and then what you can do on the wire bind, rip it off when a day's done and you go again. And there's 82 pages in each of the planners, the wire bind and the hardback. I freaking love it. I'm so proud that I've done this. And the heartbeat on the Life by Design is that it's not, the design of your life isn't quite finished. It's waiting for the next beat. I think that's really cool. It's waiting for the next beat. Life by Design. That's what my whole message is. It's not about making £10,000. It's not about making £1 million. It's not about having the fanciest car, the biggest house, a Rolex, fancy clothes. It's not about any of that. It's about living life on your terms. A life by design. If you only need to make £2,000 a month and you'd live a great life without having to answer to a boss, that's your life by design. If you want to be able to operate on your phone, you can. I'm going to talk you through on one of my next videos, so do stick tuned. I'm going to talk you through how much all of this will make me using LuluPress, Shopify, and my Go High Level site, which is all integrated. I'm going to show you the markup, the margins, and this will generate me, between both planners, around an extra 16, 17,000 net per year to my new income streams. And you can do it too. I'm no rocket scientist. So this has been a long video, but I like doing these because I don't script it. I just talk to you as if you're in front of me, and hopefully it helps. I hope you resonate with this. I hope you kind of relate to the things that I'm saying. If you do, obviously I'd love to know in the comments, and I reply to all of you, hopefully you know. If you're new to the channel, I'm Aaron Knightley, go check me out. But until next time, I wish you all the best, as I always do, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to. Peace out.